Welcome from Cycling Ireland. We're here today to do an introduction to bike maintenance. On today's class, we're going to show you how to remove and refit your bicycle wheels. The only tool that we would need if we were going to remove and replace our wheel on this particular bike is a 15mm spanner, and I have one here. But for the purpose of today's class, we're going to show you a quick release wheel, so we don't actually need this tool, but if your bike has a fixed wheel, you might want to have your tools ready for you.
So on this particular bike, it's a 15mm spanner, as Tina mentioned, with a wheel nut, locking the wheel into the fork. So you just release the wheel nut to release the wheel on this particular bike. This is common, but the most common type is the bike we're going to use now. So on this particular bike, we have a quick release wheel, very, very common. There's other options on the market, through axles, different types of calipers for the brakes, but today we're going to use the most common type. So on this particular wheel here, we will open the lever to the open position. We will go up to the brake, and we have to undo the brake on this particular bike. And the reason we do that is because now the brake blocks are not going to touch the tyre when we try to remove the wheel. On every bike on the market with this system, the wheel will still not come out of the fork due to a safety tab on the end of the fork. So what we have to do is we have to loosen the nut on this side here, down here. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So what I'm doing is I'm opening the wheel nut, the nut on the skewer. I'm not taking it off, I don't need to take it off. Now I've got the wheel removed from the bike. No effort, safely done. To refit the wheel, I will basically do everything the opposite way, taking it out. So what I will do is now is I'm going righty-tighty on the wheel nut on this side over here. I will close the skewer, that's a bit too loose. Still too loose, and all this time as I'm adjusting the skewer here, I'm checking the nut on this side, I'm turning it to tighten it, righty-tighty. And I'm going to get to a point where as I turn it, I'll get some resistance on the skewer here. And the reference I will always use here is, if I can close it all the way with my finger, that's probably too loose. So I'll open it again, lock nut on this side, a little bit more, a slight little turn, maybe a quarter turn. Now it's too much for my finger and it's hand tight. That's your resistance level. The exact same rule applies on the rear wheel for the skewer. When you're opening and closing it, you use the same resistance level. To take the rear wheel out, the best thing to do is change the gears so that the chain is down on the last sprocket. It's much easier to take the rear wheel out of the bike when the chain is in that position. We will do everything the same as the front, in that we will release the brake. The brake is released so that the wheel will pass the brake blocks. We will open the skewer. On the rear wheel, you don't have to undo the lock nut, because now the wheel gravity will help you get the wheel out of the bike. The only thing we have to do here is, when the wheel starts to come out, we have to move the rear derailleur out of position. And by having the chain on the last sprocket, that really helps us. Now the wheel is out, no effort. Putting the wheel back in, drop the chain over there, line up the chain on the last sprocket. Make sure you look up here to make sure that the tyre is not touching off the brake as you start to put the wheel back in. Once this is lined up here, gravity will help you again. The wheel drops into the frame. Bring the wheel back into the dropouts down here. Back to your skewer. Same reference, too much for my finger to close it all the way, hand tight. Back up to our brake, refit the brake. and I forgot to refit the front brake. I'm going to do that now. And all the time, this is a two-handed job, so this is not straightforward to do. There's a little bit of manoeuvring to get this part of the brake to connect. Don't use any force, just take your time, go gently with it, and that's it. 2 wheels back in the bike. Thank you.
Just to recap, if you are working with a bike that has a fixed wheel nut, you'll need your spanner before you start, or you may have a quick release skewer like we demonstrated on the video. In the order of running, we have to release our skewer or remove our wheel nuts, release our brake, take the wheel out, and then when we're going in the reverse order, we put back in our wheel, tighten the wheel nut or the skewer, and tighten up our brakes. We don't want to leave without making sure that's all done, so check it, pull your levers and check all that before you go off for your spin.